20 doctors failed to save female cop. Then a prisoner spotted what they missed. The emergency room at Desert Valley Medical Center wasn't built for legends. It was built for trauma, gunshot victims, heat stroke cases, broken bones from desert highways. But on that sweltering July morning, it was holding something stranger than anyone in those halls had ever faced. Room 412 was packed with white coats, 20 doctors, specialists, residents, all crowded around one hospital bed. Machines beeped in a steady, nervous rhythm, pumping oxygen into the lungs of a woman whose very existence had baffled them. That woman was Detective Elena Cruz, the sharpest investigator in Mesa PD's Major Crimes Division, tough, relentless, and respected across the force. Now she lay flat on her back, wires spider-webbed across her chest, her body convulsing every so often in jerks that rattled the bed frame. Every doctor in the room was muttering the same thing. Never seen anything like this before. No wounds, no drugs, no clear cause. Just a cop unraveling from the inside out. The irony was almost cruel. Elena, the one person everybody turned to for answers, had suddenly become the greatest unsolved mystery in the city. It had started at 3:47 a.m. outside the precinct. Elena's partner, Detective Javier Morales, had found her seizing on the pavement beside their cruiser. She'd been fined an hour before, filing reports, cracking jokes, sipping her burnt black coffee. Now, she was a twitching silhouette under the glow of parking lot lights, her heart skipping beats, her breathing ragged. Paramedics had rushed her in, but every test they ran came back useless. Toxicology panels, clean. Neurological scans, inconclusive. Cardiac results, abnormal, but with no root cause. It was as though her body was short-circuiting in ways that defied the textbooks. By dawn, whispers had started to spread. Maybe someone poisoned her. Maybe it's a new drug on the streets. The police department launched an investigation of its own. Captain Laura Delgado, Iron Will commander of the division, personally pulled Elena's case files. She combed through hundreds of names, drug lords, traffickers, bitter ex-cons. But nothing suggested anyone wanted Elena dead. No threats, no unfinished business, just her sterling record and a wall of commendations. And yet, here she was, dying with no villain to blame. While doctors scratched their heads in the ICU, 3 floors above sat the hospital's secure inmate ward, a place that smelled like bleach, metal, and regret. In cell 3B was Darius Cole, a former paramedic now serving a 10-year sentence for armed robbery gone wrong. Darius wasn't like most inmates. For 12 years, he'd run with paramedic crews in Albuquerque. He'd stitched together bleeding strangers in alleys, revived overdoses in dingy apartments, resuscitated accident victims on the side of desert roads. He'd been good at it, maybe too good. But one terrible night of desperation had flipped his life upside down, landing him in prison orange instead of medic blues. Despite that, his instincts never left him. He still thought like a medic, still noticed the way a patient coughed, the way their skin tinted, the way their breathing rhythm told half a story before they ever spoke. So when Nurse Elaine Porter, one of the few staff who treated inmates like people, came to take his vitals that morning, he noticed something in her eyes, an exhaustion that went deeper than lack of sleep. "Tough shift?" he asked. She hesitated. Nurses weren't supposed to talk about patients. But stress has a way of loosening rules. So she told him about the cop downstairs who nobody could save, about the seizures, the failing organs, the blank test results. She listed the symptoms in a low voice, more like confessing a secret than giving information. Darius listened, his mind clicking like tumblers in a lock. "You ever check environmental exposure?" he asked. She shook her head. "They've tested everything they can think of." That night, Darius lay awake on his cot, staring at the cracked ceiling. Something gnawed at him. He'd seen this before. Twice, back in his medic days. Not sudden poison. Not trauma. Something slower. Something invisible. By morning, when he learned the cop was slipping into organ failure, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Darius requested a meeting with Dr. Alan Greer, the medical director for the jail ward. Greer was skeptical. He'd heard plenty of self-diagnoses from inmates before. But when Darius started talking, his words weren't wild guesses. They were clinical, focused. "I think it's hydrogen sulfide poisoning," he said flatly. Greer blinked. "From where?" "We'd have detected that. Not if the exposure was low dose. Chronic. And not if the tests weren't immediate. The gas breaks down fast in the body. What stays behind are the cellular scars." Greer frowned. "That's rare." "Rare doesn't mean impossible," Darius replied. Then he leaned in, lowering his voice. "What if it's not a weapon? What if it's a patrol car? A cracked manifold, bad catalytic converter, exhaust leaking into the cabin. She's been breathing poison every single shift." The words hit Greer like a hammer. Cops spend half their careers sitting in SEAL cruisers, AC running, windows up. If the exhaust was bleeding in, the car itself was a slow-motion gas chamber. Greer didn't wait. He called Dr. Yoon, a toxicologist downstairs. "Humor me," he said. "Run enzyme disruption panels. Look for markers, not gases." Reluctantly, Yoon agreed. Hours later, she had her first real lead. Meanwhile, Mesa PD towed an Elena's cruiser for inspection. The mechanics popped the hood and swore under their breath. The exhaust manifold was fractured. The catalytic converter? Shot. Every ride Elena had taken had been dosing her with trace amounts of hydrogen sulfide, funneled neatly through the ventilation system. It wasn't an assassin. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was bad machinery quietly trying to kill her. The pieces locked into place at once. Doctors finally had an enemy to fight. Treatment started immediately. High-flow oxygen, antioxidants. Therapies meant to reverse mitochondrial damage. At first, the progress was microscopic, like watching desert grass push through cracked concrete. But slowly, Elena's vitals steadied. Brain activity crept upward. Her heart found rhythm again. By midnight, the team dared to hope. Captain Delgado wasted no time ordering a full fleet inspection. Out of 70 patrol cars, 17 showed exhaust problems. 3 were ticking time bombs like Elena's. Overnight, department protocols changed. Monthly checks. New safety briefings. Officers taught to recognize symptoms they once brushed off as just stress. It had taken nearly losing their best detective to shake the system awake. Upstairs, Darius heard about the breakthrough diagnosis on the ward's television. His name was never mentioned. It couldn't be, but he sat a little taller on his bunk. He knew, and that was enough. Dr. Greer never told anyone officially, but he started sliding tricky cases Darius's way. Mysterious inmate fevers. Nurses with unexplained symptoms. Darius wasn't allowed textbooks, but his instincts and memory worked just fine. Quietly, the inmate medic started saving lives no one else could. Elena woke 5 days later. The first thing she felt was exhaustion, so deep it seemed woven into her bones. Headaches, foggy memory. Then the doctors told her the truth. How her cruiser had been killing her, how close she'd come. She listened, jaw tight, her dark eyes burning with stubborn fire. She wasn't the kind to break. Recovery was grueling. Physical therapy, endless neurological tests, memory drills that made her want to throw clipboards. But she fought through it. Morale is visited with precinct gossip and dumb jokes. Nurses started calling her the miracle cop. Every inch she gained lifted the whole ward's spirit. 6 weeks later, she walked out of Desert Valley Medical under her own power, limping but alive. Reporters hailed her as a symbol of resilience. The department painted her as a hero. But she never knew about the man 3 floors up, the prisoner whose hunch had saved her life. Dr. Greer changed the way he trained new residents, hammering home the dangers of environmental exposure, drilling the lesson never to dismiss the strange or unlikely. Captain Delgado overhauled vehicle maintenance across the department, making safety a priority instead of paperwork. And in the jail ward, Darius quietly built a reputation. Guards started asking his advice about mysterious rashes or chronic headaches. Inmates came to him before sick call. Behind bars, he became something of a legend, the jailhouse doc. He never bragged. He just shrugged, said he was doing what he was trained to do. Months later, Elena returned to active duty. She limped slightly, carried a foggy memory in places, but her instincts were sharper than ever. She checked her own cruiser before every shift. She taught rookies to do the same. To the world. She was a cop who had survived an invisible killer. To her department, she was proof of resilience. But to one man in cell 3B, she was something else. Proof that even a fallen medic could still save lives. That purpose could live even behind locked doors. And sometimes, the universe delivers justice and healing from the last place you'd ever think to look. So, if you were lying in that hospital bed, would you care who saved you, or just that someone did?